find himself this quickly despite missing the entire preseason and just jumping back in midstream?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's a what you call a hooper. He really knows how to play, and he can do a lot of different things that we talked about. But his instincts are just so good, I think, would be the answer to that. Yeah.
VJ really was, it seemed like he was struggling offensively, but he was great defensively. But then obviously he turns it on down the stretch in the fourth quarter. What did you kind of observe from him?
Yeah, I mean, I think that exactly that. Even though he wasn't shooting the three that well, I thought he probably had some chances to attack more when he was taking those threes. He had a matchup he probably could have hit the paint on, but he was playing D, was rebounding, he was challenging shots. And then, we kind of got him set up. They were in such a full denial of Tyrese. When he turned the corner, he had to go into that gap, and he just exploded into it 2 or 3 times when it really mattered. Yeah.
Can you talk about the balance you guys had today? I mean, the ball moved well. You ended up with 6 double-figure scores.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they play a pretty pressurized defense, and it's almost that you gotta be able to attack them off the dribble, and then the help's coming, and then you gotta fire it out. And I think, until we had just kind of we had the turnovers really under control for a long time. Which is huge. The assist numbers are high, which indicates the ball is moving pretty good. But I really think that there was a lot of tough possessions that we ended up having to conjure something up. Right? Fortunately, we did. But then we sprinkled in just enough, I thought, of really great ball movement possessions where we ran them around and spread them out and attacked them off the catch and went and laid it in. A couple backdoor cuts, things like that. So it's a work in progress, though, for sure, right? And it's going to be a bit, I think. We got, again, a lot going on to keep some rhythm and guys figuring out who's doing what and all that stuff. But I do think that the early passing that we've emphasized is paying off even when maybe it's not so pretty, but at least they're making the right plays. You know what I mean?
Was Jared not playing tonight, maybe just not playing, and you'll have him available tomorrow night?
Yes.
Is that how he's going to play?
Yeah, he is. He was available tonight, and there was some scenarios where we might use him, but those didn't present themselves tonight, so he'll be ready to go tomorrow. Yeah.
Decision to elevate Trendon about anything other than, I mean, he played very well last game, or was it matchup based, or what do you like with him in that top group?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a discussion with us, the staff. Actually, it usually happens where I put 4 options up there and we vote, and most of the staff voted for that starting lineup tonight, so congratulations to the staff. Yeah.
How many
for
people
that.
actually get a vote? Is it a true?
Yeah, all the assistants get a vote. I think it was. Well, I don't need to tell you all the results, but voting these days is funny, right? Results, who knows? Who knows?
Does your vote have an extra weight, or just one?
I would say it might. Yeah, I would say it might, but I do like to get those guys' input for real. And they did remind me after the game that they all voted that way. So another shout out for them.
We talked so much about just the distribution of Joel's restricted minutes
Yeah.
for the time being, like having him start the fourth quarter and then come back in with like 3 minutes left. Just how do you feel like that sort of shook out this time?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it shakes out better when you win, right? But I think we're still playing around with it. I think that I think there's a case to playing him at the start of all the quarters and just getting it over with, which we've done before. I think there is a case for getting him back in there when we're in the bonus for a couple minutes at the end of quarters, things like that too. But it's a little tricky. But that kind of is what we were shooting for tonight, the second half, to leave him with a couple, 2 or 3 minutes, but to play some, not leave him with 6 or 7 like we've done a couple other games. But we'll see what happens next time, Gina. See what happens next time.
Sorry about that, Coach.
That's all right.
How did you guys, ugly first quarter for you guys
Yep.
defensively, and So how did you guys stabilize, especially in that second quarter?
Well, I think sometimes you got to, you tell the guys how fast they're playing and how fast they're moving and how physical they are and all that stuff. And sometimes they aren't seeing that when you're showing them, and then they get out there and they feel it. And I think we were behind on some stuff. We went under a bunch of stuff we didn't want to go under on. We didn't, they play extremely fast, and we got twisted up in some matchups. But then we just got it so much better in the second quarter, right? It was just we started guarding much more physically. We started blocking out much more physically. I mean, first quarter they threw us out of bounds a couple times and laid the ball in. Like, I mean, you can't go for that. You gotta hit first and stand in there if they're pushing you, things like that. And I think we did that a lot better in the second quarter.
Similar scenario to Tuesday's game against Chicago in the last 5 minutes, crunch time, and it was a lot cleaner this time around than it was in Chicago. You guys seem to like the VJ Joel 2-man game, and then Tyrese on the weak side. I guess why did you guys go to that?
Well, I think that each game will probably present something differently. I kind of already talked about it. Basically we parked Tyrese as the next man over, which means if Joel will set a screen, there's going to be a driving lane. You're basically playing 4-on-4. They're just, they're not providing any help there, and that makes it pretty tough. And then VJ did a great job I mean, he's got a lot of things to learn, but playing with Joel's one of them, and going much more downhill, not always to shoot, but just take the separation he makes has got to be better downhill. Right, and if the big sticks with him the whole way, that's when you can go back to the pop or hit him on the short roll or whatever it is. But if they think you're not going all the way, then the big's just gonna hug Joel. So he just did a good job of turning the corner. The space was there. Tyrese was the next guy over, and there was space for him, and he just kind of turned on the jets and went for it. Yeah.
How much does it kind of diversify your offense when you have Joel sitting on one elbow, Trendon on the other, and you can kind of run those DHOs, and then you can kind of, it seems like you can get to a lot of different things off of those two guys?
Well, I think the biggest thing is T-Watt can bring it as well, but he's also a good post feeder, right? So, like, we can play some stuff through him, and as you guys saw, we punched it into Joel for the first time in many moons. Right, and that was good, and a lot of that was because Watt can find those angles and make those passes in there. So good. Again, he's got a lot to his game. Let's not go too crazy, but he can do a lot. He can post, he can drive, he can pass, right? And evidently he can rebound. Tyrese says he couldn't rebound, but he did tonight. So.
Last question. For a player like Joel, typically throughout his career, especially here, the offense relied heavily on him scoring a lot of points. And then there come certain games, and down the stretch, he thinks back to what it used to be and how he has to carry the team. How tough is it?
Well, I think Keith, that repeat some of the stuff I've said before. I think that obviously he's a magnetic force, and we can play through him at the offensive end. There's no doubt about that. I just think it's better. My message is it can't start and end with him and Tyrese in a two-man game. Right? I want some Tyrese and Joel, but I also want some VJ and Joel. I want some Kelly and Joel. I want some Q and Joel. I want some, I think will keep things just a little, give them longer life. You know what I mean? And then if we really want to go to our bread and butter late, we haven't done it 50 times already in a game. You know what I mean? So I think that's what we're after. Yeah.
Follow up. We talked about a lot of players, but it just seems like, and I know you mentioned him early, but Kelly, it just seems like he has a knack for coming up with huge plays for you guys.
Great.
And he's being a little overshadowed by VJ and Tyrese, but he's on the next level below them as far as being productive.
Great call by you. I think Kelly's been really outstanding. You saw him; he was fighting Ingram most of the night. He's done that consistently, where he's got one of the better scorers in the league or on the other team, and he just keeps working and working. Been really good, and he's done a good job of playing physical, and he's done much better at just being solid, keeping himself in front of his man, challenging shots. They're going to make some, but he just keeps at it for over the course of the game and ends up with a good defensive game. Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you tomorrow.